In 1889, Colt introduced the swing-out cylinder. That's how revolvers work today. You pull a lever or you push a button and you can open the cylinder. But at the same time, Colt was making large frame, fixed cylinder guns, including the 1878 and the 1902.
Colt made his name as single-action revolvers. On the other hand, in England and Europe, while they certainly made some very good quality single-action revolvers, fairly early on, as early as the 1850s, they were producing very, very, very serviceable double actions. Colt, on the other hand, kind of dragged their heels and really didn't come out with a reasonable double-action revolver until 1877. It's called variably, depending what caliber it is. The Rainmaker, which was in .32 caliber, the Lightning, which was in .38 caliber, and the Thunderer, which was in .41 caliber. Lovely looking little gun. It had some similarities to the single action. It had this, similar ejection system. However, it was double action, had bird's head grip. Very, very handsome, pretty little gun. However, they had some kind of mechanical problems with them. As a matter of fact, they almost came broken out of the box. It's hard to find a Lightning or a Thunderer or a Rainmaker today that doesn't have some sort of a problem with them. And you can't find any gunsmith that wants to touch them because they're really complicated to play with. However, the Colt, realizing that they had this sort of a situation, decided they'd double up, and in 1878 came out with a larger frame version.
They simply expanded and built this frame much sturdier, and now this revolver would handle everything from .32 20s, .38 long Colts. It handled 41 long Colts, 38 40 Winchester, 44 40 Winchester, the 45 long Colt. In addition to that, the .455 English Webley and the .476 Ely. So here's this revolver, which gets nicknamed the Frontier or the Double Action Army, and it sees service a lot out west.
This is a powerful handgun. There were 13 different chamberings for this model. So this was the horse that Colt was going to ride into the next stage of revolver development. The problem was some worked, some didn't. When you look at the 1878, you see, what's very clearly a double action trigger, but you still have a loading gate, on the right-hand side, and, it comes straight back. Whether it's better than the 1873 or not, I don't know. But you're still punching cartridges out one at a time. You're opening your loading gate, indexing your cylinder. Oh wait, and the cylinders spin freely. Good luck with that. And you're poking the cartridges out one at a time. So it's very slow to reload. And, there were better mousetraps.
The 1878 was also adopted by the United States military. In fact, thousands of them were purchased, and it was christened the Model 1902. And it goes by two nicknames, the Filipino model or the Alaskan model, depending on what the weather's like where you're at the time.
In 1902, the U.S. forces are trying to quell the Philippine insurrection. At this time, it's found that the .38 long Colt, which was in the Colt revolvers of the 1890s, which the Army had adopted, simply didn't have the stopping power. The idea is, let's go back to this 45 long Colt, because we know that's, at that time, the most powerful handgun cartridge in the world. And let's use these new double action armies. The revolvers that went to the Philippines, now they have an enlarged trigger guard. What had happened was when they used this revolver with the Army cartridge that's being produced at Frankfurt Arsenal near Philadelphia, the U.S. government cartridge has a primer that's not nearly as sensitive as the civilian primers. And as a result, it didn't always go off. And so in order to ensure that you had ignition on every round, Colt strengthened the mainspring in order to work the trigger against a strengthened mainspring. That required a longer trigger to get the necessary pull on it and leverage. And when you have a longer trigger, that means you have to have a longer trigger bow. So that's the reason that they really are not an Alaskan revolver.
The 1878 double action, and of course its cousin, the 1902, lost their market share when other guns that had swing-out cylinders or top breakage actions made it easier to load and reload those types of guns with the same cartridge. And then again, these are all old black powder strength cartridges, pistol rounds. And now the smokeless powder rounds are coming out and delivering a greater bang for your buck. These guns, especially the fact that they could be loaded and unloaded, more speedily with a swing out or top brake ejection system. And then of course the advent of semi-automatic pistols pretty much was their death knell.